one final player, and we're going to see him when the national championship game is being played, and that is Stephon Castle. I do like Stephon Castle. I'm going to get into some of his offensive stuff. So he's not much of a shooter to the point where defenses go underneath screens and they sag off, where they just dare him to shoot threes. And at times it looks like he's trying to do anything else but shoot the ball, which is a little concerning for me. But he can score. Castle is a big guard at 6'6" with a 6'9" wingspan, who's at his best when he has the ball in his hands, using a variety of moves to dance with the defender, get him off balance, and then attack. And he can finish over, through, under, doesn't matter. He's a good finisher around the rim. I think he's around 60% around the rim this season for UConn. And what I love about his game is how he reads and navigates the defense to find holes in it, to where, like, it kind of reminds me like a little bit of Ray Allen, and then even James Bouknight when he was at UConn. James Bouknight was very good at finding those gaps in the defense, making himself available for a pass, and then finishing the play. Stephon Castle does the same thing. I just absolutely love that about Stephon Castle. But what are your thoughts on Stephon Castle?
First thing I wrote down is, does he like to shoot threes or does he not like to shoot threes? Because I can't really tell at the moment of the first 2 minutes of his highlights. He does. He shoots it at a 28% clip. That's not successful, and you got to even think we're going to be shooting from deeper when he goes from college to the NBA, so that might drop 2%. For all we know, 6'6", 215 guard as a freshman. On a very successful team. So like we talked about last week, how you thought we thought that should the Pistons go get Dan Hurley. The one thing that scares me about this is him being young, but him being so successful. He's surrounded by a building block of great players.
Yep.
So if you want to take this guy, lottery or not, as a freshman going into the league, he might not be as successful as we think he is, because Dan Hurley has kind of organized something so good at UConn right now that all these players have bought in. He might not be a great individual without good leadership above him to kind of guide him and work on his game with him. But I do like how much of a team player he is. He's not selfish. He's like a guard type Jokic, just trying to get someone else the ball, and he doesn't have an issue with it. But lottery pick, maybe. Does he fit with the Pistons? Not with the scoring that we so much need right now. But would he be a good one with a Cade off too? Sure, of course. But you're not. But you don't have to guard him as much as you think you do when he gets to the league. So I don't know. I like watching him play, and we're going to see him and Zach Edey go at it together tomorrow night, Monday night, for the championship game. But I don't see him being a fit for Detroit.
Ooh, interesting. So I'm going to get into my fit here in a second, but I do want to talk about his defense. So he has, like I said, he has great length and he knows how to use it. He can cut off lanes, really good at navigating around screens defensively, keeps his man in front of him. UConn has used him up and down the lineup on defense, which is something that I think will translate in the NBA. I think this is a guy where he could defend 1, 2s, and 3s no problem in the NBA. I think he has the size and the strength to do that, plus a great wingspan. So defensively, I think he's great. Now, this was a tough one for me because I do love Stephon Castle's game, but with the lack of three-point shooting, I don't love his fit with Cade, because the Pistons need – it would be so weird to throw a lineup of out there with Cade, Castle, Asar, Simone Fontecchio, and Duren. Yeah, it would be – dude, there's no shooting other than Cade and Simone Fontecchio if you were to do something like that, which is something I could see Monty doing. But, however, since he is very good with the ball in his hands, I could see a world where they can work in the backcourt together if Cade takes a larger role off the ball. Like, I don't know if that's what you want from Cade, because I don't know if the whole 50-50 thing will work, but man, there is a world where, like, I don't know, maybe Cade kind of plays the Devin Booker role in Monty's offense, and then Stephon Castle's more of like the Chris Paul lead guard, setting people up type. I mean, even though Chris Paul can shoot the ball, he's not really known as a three-point shooter, but he still gets it done. And again, I'm not comparing Stephon Castle to Chris Paul. I'm just saying, like, maybe Troy Weaver and company, they're kind of envisioning this what could work. Would I draft Stephon Castle in the top 5 for the Pistons? I'm gonna have to say no, even though I do feel like I might be missing out on a very good player. But UConn guards have let me down the last few times I've picked them, so I'm just gonna pass on them in top 5. But who's your NBA comparison for Stephon Castle?
Man, these are kind of hard because when I do this, I don't want the viewers to think that I'm saying these names that they're supposed to be like exactly like them. Like
Mhm.
I want their games to be like similar to, not as successful as they are in the league at the moment. But this might be a reach. But I did an offensive and a defensive type for Stephon Castle, and offensive minded, I compared him to Russell Westbrook.
Ooh, interesting.
He
Okay.
likes to get to the rim more than he does take a three. He will shoot the three, but you can tell he's hesitant to do it. And Russ has always been like that. But Russ is a team player. He doesn't mind dishing the ball. He likes to set other people up. And the big man from UConn, those two work so well together. So that's something that maybe the Pistons could look at having a similar contrast of how he plays with maybe Duran. And maybe if we reach for somebody in free agency or a trade. But grabbing him and having Ivy and Cade, it's just we are just so full of guards right now. If that's the move we want to do, and then defensively might be a reach, but I said to me he reminds me of like a Jeff Teague. He's a little scrappy.
Interesting.
He's
Okay.
quick. He's always I feel like he's always in the right spot. His size is much bigger than Jeff Teague, so that's something that's better for him. But the way that I watched him play defense, that's the first person that came to mind.
Okay, so I did have an NBA comparison to him, and I gotta pull up his college numbers real quick. But the guy that I was comparing him to, this is gonna sound crazy, was Dwayne Wade.
Really?
Yeah, dude, it was totally Dwayne Wade.
Okay.
So it's just because like Dwayne Wade lacked a jump shot too. I mean, he could hit from mid range, but he wasn't good from the 3-point line. In
Okay.
college, he shot 32% on 1 attempts per game. He did average 21 points per game, good rebounder, solid playmaker, could get it done on the defensive end. But there's just, I don't know, when I watch Stephon Castle play, I do see shades of Dwayne Wade. Maybe not quite as athletic from him, but just the way he moves and the way he drives, there's just some similarities, in my opinion, between those two that and I can't even really like put my finger on it exactly, but when I watch Stephon Castle, I feel like I'm watching shades of Dwayne Wade when he was in college. And I think Stephon Castle, even without the jump shot, with the space and the way he plays in transition, he's still gonna be very successful in the NBA. I don't know. And I feel like the other part too is that when you need a big shot, Stephon Castle, like Dwayne Wade, they can just pull out some magic from somewhere and make it happen. And I don't know, maybe I'm just like overthinking it too much, but that's what I'm thinking about when I see Stephon Castle play.
Yeah, and two is I kind of want to run back to what I said. Like maybe being worried about his lack of his maturity as a young guard, being under such a great coach and being surrounded by great players. But now that I think about it, and I just took a peek at his stats. Being a freshman, starting on a point guard that's going to win another national championship, I don't know why I even thought that would be a bad idea to pick someone that's so young leading a team that's so good because
Yeah.
he has to have some type of intangible that makes him a leader to be starting as a freshman on this very deep UConn team. So I don't know, but when we go about being a fit for the roster we have now, everyone on the roster for Detroit, I don't see it.
Yeah.
Not with the lack of aggressiveness from three. Defensively, that would be amazing. Him and Asar would be phenomenal as locks because you could switch everything that those two are guarding on. But offensively, I think it might be too much for him.
See, in a perfect world, it would be kind of cool if the Pistons, I mean, obviously they're going to have Cade, but then they drafted Stephon Castle They play Asar at the 3. You have Simone Fontecchio at the 4, but then you sign Nick Claxton to be that rim protector. You still don't have a ton of space, but like defensively, it would just be so much fun to watch that team play. It would be the length would be everywhere on the floor. You don't have a guy smaller than 6'6",
Yeah.
and your weakest defender is Cade Cunningham, who's not terrible defensively. And I don't know, that would just be, now that I'm thinking about it, it's kind of like a dream lineup for me right there. So maybe they'll make it happen, but then a few trades have to happen. So we'll
Just
see.
because you're so defensive minded, man. We need to shoot the ball.
Which
man.
is so weird because I'm trash on defense. Like it's just, I mean, I play with a little effort, but if we're being honest, like, dude, I'm not shutting anybody down. I mean, I'm not
Lateral
letting you score
quickness.
50 on me. Oof, oof. See, but I know angles. I was
Oh,
decent in
all right.
geometry.
There
I
you
know
go. That's
angles.
all that matters.
Yeah.